I am planting hope. So, Wangari Maathai is one of the people who I look up to. She is an inspiration. If you're not familiar with Wangari Maathai, she was the first African woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And she won that prize for her work in what became known as the Green Belt Movement. In the course of her lifetime, she was responsible for the planting of 30 million trees. Wow. Imagine that. And her planting of trees was revolutionary work. She was teaching women how to plant trees starting in their backyard. And she faced a lot of difficulty, a lot of pushback. And she says that the story that encouraged her when she was feeling most discouraged was the story of the hummingbird, which says that there was a terrible fire in the forest, and all of the big animals were running as quickly as they could to get away from that fire. And then there was a tiny little hummingbird that was flying over the fire and picking up what little water she could carry in her beak, and flying back and dropping these little drops of water on the fire, flying and dropping little water, and flying and dropping little water, and the big animals are looking up and they're like, "What are you doing?" And she says, "I am doing the best that I can." Wangari Maathai says that is what she would remember when she was feeling most discouraged. She would have in her mind that little hummingbird dropping that little bit of water, and she would say to herself, "I am doing the best that I can." That's a story that I love to tell because of the way that it encourages. And over the years, I've had a variety of very interesting experiences connected to this story. I told this story at a big festival, and I finished, and someone came up to me and said, "I want you to know that they don't have hummingbirds in Kenya." And I was like, okay. And Wangari Maathai could only tell stories about what happened in Kenya. So that was fascinating. And then I had an experience where I told the story last summer at a program for young people, and someone else who was part of that program, who was brought in to be a storyteller, who is Native American, told a hummingbird story. And it was very similar, but not quite the same. And one of the distinctions in that story is that when the hummingbird went to pick up the little bit of water, the other animals were inspired to change. And they went to get water. So that if everyone was going to get water, then so much more change could happen. That really touched me. It made me think about how these stories move and how we hold them and share them. So last weekend, I was at one of my favorite summer festivals. Mole de Mayo is one of my favorite festivals. So out there at Mole de Mayo, and I went twice. So this is at the second time. And I'm walking through, and I'm thinking, what is the thing that I might want to take home? And I see this huge, beautiful painting of all these butterflies. And I love butterflies. But it was really big. And I was trying to figure out, like, where would I put it? And then I saw that they had frames this size. And I said, "Do you have one of butterflies this size?" And the artist disappeared for a long time. And he came back and he said, "I don't have the butterflies, but I have this one with the hummingbird." Wow. And I said, "That's the one I'm supposed to." And I said, "Are you familiar with the story of the hummingbird?" And he said, "No." And I told him the story, and his face lit up. And I carried away his painting, but more than that, I carried away that moment where I was able to say, your art gave me something, and my art gives you something. And hopefully that sharing will continue to pass on and on. So in that moment when you are feeling most discouraged, Remember that hummingbird and do the very best that you can.